So we continue My Hero Academia with the third season, the 19th episode titled Rescue Exercise. We see that there are various civilians caught up in the rubble of the explosion of the provisional license exam testing grounds. These are the people of the Help Us Company, or HUC for short. They pretend to be injured civilians using fake blood and fake injuries and so on and so forth. And they will be the ones grading the various testers in terms of how they do and how they proceed. Izuku and Ida remember the Camino incident and the fact that there were many casualties, there were many put in harm's way. So even if these people going in for the licensing exam pass, they need to know how to go in and rescue and help people, which is something we've seen in various incidents. Taking people out of harm's way, helping and rescuing people. That's a big part of everything that a hero should also be able to do, not just fight and take down villains. Ultimately, Sero tells Kaminari and Mineta about the situation that Izuku had with Kami, and they both immediately assault Deku because of this, feeling very jealous about the whole situation, feeling that he got very close to this young Shiketsu student. And Kami doesn't help matters by kind of lovingly waving to Deku. So they're very much ready to beat him senseless, but Izuku exclaims that it was all just because of how her quirk works, so it was nothing more than that. Uraraka ends up looking over to Deku, kind of longingly, kind of feeling, emotion stirred up within her because of the whole situation. Um, she's very uncertain of her feelings towards Deku and just how she should go about it. The kids from Shiketsu end up coming over, trying to kind of bury the hatchet with UA because of the whole situation with one of their students who had, Seiji, who had gone after Bakugo and Kirishima, and, Nagimasa, who is the class representative, who has all the fur and hair, he apologizes, saying that he wants a better relationship with UA. They shouldn't be enemies, they should be allies in all things that they do. Ultimately, this gives Shoto a reason to ask Inase what his problem is with him exactly, as he keeps glaring over at him. Um, Ultimately, Inase simply tells Shoto that he has a hatred for him, his school, and Endeavor. Though he does admit that Shoto has changed to a certain degree, he still feels his eyes are passionless, very much like Endeavor's. There's a lack of interest in the world around him. Kemi says goodbye to Izuku, um, and ultimately Ochako watches Kami exit the building, and she kind of struggles to come to terms with her feelings for Izuku. She tries to talk to Izuku before the test begins, but ultimately, hey, ultimately the test starts up as their scenario begins where villains act as terrorists and have destroyed the city, leaving many civilians injured. And because of this, first responders have been delayed as the roadways have been clogged up. So it's up to the heroes to save as many lives as possible. So everyone goes rushing in. They kind of group off by class, with naturally Bakugo going off on his own, being followed by Kirishima and Kaminari. Izuku ends up noticing that a young boy is, off crying, having been injured, and he and Class 1A go after, the young boy, with Izuku saying that the situation is bad. The boy ends up yelling at Izuku, saying that he's lost points for not trying to, comfort and calm the victim first and foremost, just simply stating that it's a bad situation. Ultimately, a lot of the Help Us workers are scoring everybody in terms of efficiency, rescue operations, how they comfort and tend to the people who are injured and in trouble. He deducts a lot of points and just gives them the business. You should be checking up on me, comforting me, asking where my grandfather is. There are a lot of things you should be doing in preparation for helping someone. Now, Nagimasa ends up clearing an area for helicopters and first responders to come in, while Yoshindo creates a first aid station where everyone can take all the injured. They're showing off why they're second years. They have a little bit more proficiency in terms of what they should be doing in order to go in, help, and rescue people and tend to people on top of that. It's this level of experience and capability that allows a lot of the second years to stand out, whereas UA really got to flex in terms of combat with a multitude of enemies. The young boy ends up telling, Class 1A, hey, you gotta do whatever it takes to make sure operations go as smoothly as possible until, people who are actually trained for this come in. You are the people who are just there as a, supplement until firefighters and ambulances can actually arrive on the scene. You know, Izuku ends up, giving it his all to try to tell the young boy, hey, I'm here. We're here to help you. We're going to get you out of this. Just tries to talk him through. He tries to turn on his all might, basically. I am here. There's no need to fear. Ochaku ends up watching Izuku leave with the young boy, and she decides to just put away her feelings. Focus on the task at hand. And I very much find this commendable, as Ochaku is actually doing what a lot of, female shonen series characters never seem to really be able to do, and that's just be like, look, I have my own thing I want to do. And just admiring this person from afar is kind of debilitating me to a certain degree because of this. I'm always fawning over him, just looking lustfully after him and all this stuff. That's not what I'm supposed to be about. I'm supposed to be out there helping, doing the best I can, and saving human life. That's what it's all about. And I love her for this fact and coming to terms with this. Because, yeah, a lot of characters just end up becoming one note. Oh, it's the girl who loves the protagonist, and that's it. That was not Ochaku's character from the beginning, and it shouldn't be her character from here on out. That's just not the way it should go. Inase goes on to try to introduce himself as the hero Gale Force and rescue some civilians by floating away a lot of the debris using his wind. One of the workers ends up commenting on the fact that Inase is using his power in order to kind of sort through a lot of the people from the debris, which is very masterful on his part, but it's still kind of sloppy. Nagamasa ends up telling Inase that he shouldn't move anything before checking on the conditions of the people who are injured. For all they know, there could be, severely injured people, people who shouldn't be moved to any certain degree. Inase catches the two people and apologizes, only for him to, the one dressed as a baby, to say, it's just too sloppy. You should be a little more tactful about how you go about things. Yes, you had control over your abilities, but you need to have a bit more caution in terms of dealing with injured people. Seiji, sitting in the stands, comments on the fact that while Inase is strong, he lacks experience and he's too overzealous in everything that he does. The man sitting next to Seiji, who I think is a teacher, I'm pretty sure he's a teacher from Shiketsu, but I don't know if we ever got confirmation on that. He comments on the fact that Seiji himself has been influenced by the hero killer state. Seiji kind of takes offense to this, but he goes on to say it's just like, it's not so much a bad thing as it gives you more pride in hero work. It puts you in a situation where you think, and a lot of people in the general populace agree, that heroes should be a little more, respectful in how they conduct themselves. Seiji just needs to take it a step back and, not be so overly zealous about it, because he starts to become a fanatic and becomes no better as Stain when he goes about things that way. Um, Momo ends up finding a man trapped under some rubble, and Ochaku immediately goes in to try to float it away. Momo stops her because a lot of the debris is in a very precarious situation, and moving it would destabilize it, causing more harm than good. She ends up creating some girders in order to, prop things up, and Sero and uh, Ricardo, Sugar Man, end up, building things up in order to, prop everything, create some kind of stability in terms of all the rocks and so on around it, in order to keep it from becoming destabilized, creating a sense of order in terms of the rubble's chaos. Um, Uraraka ends up taking a lot of the smaller debris out of the way in order to properly bring the man out of harm's way. He notes that while it is while Class 1A isn't doing things badly, they need to be a little bit more efficient in how they work if they want to be able to pass. There's too much wasted effort in how they're doing things, and for all they know, he could be injured in a way that he could be losing blood, losing consciousness. It could be a lot worse. And this whole exercise is all about getting in and getting people out in the most fast and efficient way possible. Ultimately, Class 1A decides to divide up their labor and move into smaller groups, with Todoroki going with Sue and Toru out to the river, where Sue's ability would be more helpful. Koji ends up leading Mineta, Mashiro, and Fumikage over to the mountain area because they're a little bit more agile in how they're able to move. And Ida, Minoru, and Mezzo end up finding some people in need, where they ultimately just, start doing their thing. They, start to grasp onto things a little bit better in terms of how they should work best, and start to pair off with certain other schools, because this is not so much a test of if you're going to be able to, stand out. It's about how efficiently you're able to work with people you don't know too well. Meanwhile, Bakugo, Kirishima, and Kaminari find two people who are injured, and Bakugo just yells at them to, save themselves. They kind of find the fact that they kind of start to wonder if Bakugo noticed that they were only supposed to be lightly injured people, and that they, are just aren't so critically injured that they need an exclusive amount of help. But they do end up deducting Bakugo because of his, very volatile tone. And ultimately, Kaminari and Kirishima carry them off to safety. Um, Yukimiru, Yukimiru ends up stating to an unknown figure that while there have been a few blunders here and there, the operation is going pretty well. Everybody's responding very good to the whole situation. And so an explosion takes place in various sections around the arena, with Gang Orca appearing, the number 10 hero. Invades, taking the role of a villain in order to kind of, you know, take on a dual role, whereas the people will, the students will have to rescue people as well as decide how to deal with the various villains who have come out of the woodwork. You know, now there's a bit of contention, because what do you do? How do you divide things up? Who goes off to say stop the villains while others stay behind to save the people? Tend to the injured, rescue. That's what I very much love about this whole situation. Um, there's a multifaceted level in how everything works. You save people, you protect them, you tend to their injuries. There's a lot going on here, and even Aizawa kind of mentioned, even this situation would be difficult for a pro hero. There's too much going on, and that's what a lot of the students are being tested on, how well they're able to respond to a volatile situation. you know how do you divide up your attention? And that's what I very much love about this whole story arc. Where do you go in? How do you divide up your actions? you know there's more to actually being a hero than just fighting all the time. And that's something I feel like My Hero Academia is highlighting in a very proper manner. How do you divide your attention in order to help the greatest amount of people overall? Um, a lot of other series kind of don't really, kind of lose themselves in terms of where characters' attentions really go. With Naruto, ninja techniques and espionage, end up going on the back burner. Bleach, saving souls, goes on the back burner. One Piece, finding treasure and actual explanation goes on the back burner for just, going head to head with certain characters. Here it's like, this is actual real world training they're doing, actual thought, and it's very maniacal about how they're going about things. Every time there's a major villain attack, you see the various minor heroes going in and doing everything they can to save as many people as possible. And I think that's where My Hero Academia really shines, just thinking about the little guy and how they function. Um, but I've babbled on enough here. I feel like I wasn't really able to get my point across as well as I wish I would have, but I feel like if you've listened enough, you'll understand where I'm coming from. But what are your thoughts? Are you glad that they're actually taking this more realistic, real world approach to things, whereas a lot of the heroes have to think of more than just taking on villains? Or would you prefer it just be about villains? Or were you relieved when Gang Orca came in, and now that our heroes have someone to actually punch in the face? Or do you wish they would have just stuck purely to the heroic work? They're creating this very tense situation in order to kind of weed out the people who are unable to respond properly to certain high stress situations. But if you liked what I had to say about this episode, leave me a like. If you didn't, feel free to leave me a dislike and subscribe for more My Hero Academia. Let's see how our heroes react in this highly volatile situation.